Today's guest on the Quantum Shift podcast is Bill Nugent. Bill is the author of the forthcoming memoir, Unlearning Myself, a deeply personal story of unraveling fear-based identity and remembering his true nature. Bill is not somebody that just talks about transformation. He's lived it in the most raw and honest ways. Bill joined us today to share what he calls the path of unlearning, the journey that we all enter when success, roles, and achievement no longer quiet that deeper restlessness inside. Bill spent more than 3 decades immersed in spiritual wisdom traditions, Jungian psychology, and miracle-minded thinking. He's trained directly with Marianne Williamson, created the unlearning framework, and walked through the rise and collapse of a multi-million-dollar business, an experience that stripped away old identities and brought him back to what's real. Bill didn't show up with all the answers. He showed up as a human being with stories, scars, and a presence that reminds us that we're not broken. Nothing is missing. And the unraveling that we all fear is often the doorway home. I'm honored to have had him on the podcast. Let's step into this conversation with Bill and explore what it truly means to unlearn what was never true and remember who we've always been. Let's welcome Bill to the Quantum Shift podcast. Enjoy. Bill, welcome to the podcast. Nice
Chris,
to
it's
see
great to be here. I really appreciate being here with you and truly getting to know you a little bit better too.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I think our audience is going to learn a lot from you today. So let's get it started.
Okay.
You've said that success and collapse have both shaped you. Unpack that for us.
Sure. So I learned over the course of my life, watching the world around me, and by learning the ways of the world through initially as we all do as a kid, through family, friends, people that you look up to and trust, you begin to learn, I certainly did, that this is how I become fill in the blank. For me, it was successful man, somebody that would have a good life, somebody that might look like my father.
Man.
And so I worked really hard and learned in lots of scary ways in my relationship with my father, which we can get into the weeds on if you want to at any point in time.
Sure. Yeah.
Through my father, that it was useful for me to be quiet, small, and the good boy. And so I began to learn life this way, and that just continued to grow and become true in getting jobs, in having relationships with people. And life taught me, as I continued to look out there rather than in here, for who am I supposed to be?
Yeah.
And so eventually, through the experiences of my life, through careers that disappeared on me, through a very successful business that made me a rich man, that collapsed on me almost overnight. And I went from, what kind of car would you like to buy this week, to can we buy groceries?
Wow.
Almost overnight. And with that, the identities that I built around what everything out there, the people, the places, the things, the examples, it's largely based in a survival mentality. It's something many of us have heard about, call it the caveman brain, if you like,
Sure.
that teaches us things like, doesn't even really teach us, it's an innate, that we have this fight or flight mentality. And we begin to experience things in our lives that aren't the saber-toothed tiger any longer, but it's fear. It's based in fear, and all fear's derivatives that have us recoil and hide and keep ourselves small. And I built identities around what fear taught me, this sort of yin and a yang, my relationship with fear. And in the collapses, I began to have all of it cracked open so that I could be shown and brought back to what was true before I drew my first breath and what will remain true after I draw my last breath. And that's a really high level 30,000 foot look at the
Oof.
journey.
So let's unpack that. I feel like a lot of the things that you just said probably ring a very loud bell for many people. And you started with acting small and scared with your father. Can you touch on that a bit? My question was going to be: was your awakening gradual or a single rupture? And it seems like it was one big single rupture, but maybe we try to.
If I could, I would say the answer to was it gradual or a single rupture. The answer is yes.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah, but please go ahead.
Yeah. So unpack what was going on with Dad a little bit.
Sure. So, my father was, so I'm going to say bad things about my father, but I want to put them in because my father's no longer with us,
Sorry.
but I continue my relationship with my father. And in some ways now my relationship with my father is better than it ever has been. And that in years past was not easy, if not impossible. And so he was a man that worked hard and made sure that there was always food on the table, could be very kind and loving, except for when he wasn't. And my father grew up, I'm going to say on behalf of him, in a different generation where being vulnerable, being deeply real with somebody else, maybe especially your son, I can't speak for him in that way, was something beyond him. He didn't have the tools to do that, I think. And my father knew how to be kind in what I'll just broadly call easy moments. But when there was difficulty, when he had whatever was coming up for him based on his own life experience, he would oftentimes take it out on me or my mother or whatever it was. I'll tell you one story that I just have been rereading and writing. When I was pretty young, I was walking through the garage to go outside, wanted to go outside and play ball with some of the neighbor boys that were out on the street where we lived in Fort Lauderdale when I was a kid. And I was walking through the garage, and my dad had a workbench and tool chests, and he's at the workbench doing whatever it was he was doing. And my father said very deliberately, very matter-of-factly, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Going out to play ball with the other guys." And he said, before I could finish saying that, he said, "Where's my 1/2-inch wrench?" And I said, and then he started with,
Oh.
and I said, "I don't know where your 1/2-inch wrench is." And he started with the interrogating. And at some point he stopped the interrogating I'm just standing there not knowing what to do.
Sure.
And I made the mistake of, I whispered under my breath when he asked me the question, "What are you going to do to help me find this wrench?" And I said, I didn't lose it. And I didn't realize that my father had clipped to his belt around the side of him a handgun.
God.
And my father pulled out the handgun and put it to my face. And he said very coldly, very matter-of-factly, "I wish you were dead."
Oh, dear God.
And we stood there. We stood there for a few seconds. It seemed like, I don't know, a day. And like, I can think about it right now, and I can see his fist around the pistol grip, and I can see like the blue and the black of the gunmetal, and I can see the dark spot that's the hole at the end of the barrel that looks like it goes on for infinity. And I'm like, I, I I'm not sure. I think I'm like 10.
Oh my God.
Um, and there was several instances over the course of my life between then and say my early 20s where my father wouldn't know how to deal with a circumstance that was very obviously difficult, or I can't find my half-inch wrench,
My God.
and would pull a gun on me or threaten to kill me. Or now, my father never actually hit me. Um, and that I don't have an explanation for. I'm grateful for it. Um, and so I
Well, one
learned,
could argue staring down the barrel of a gun at 10 years old is you know, much, 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 much worse.
yeah,
Uh, I don't think I've ever heard anything like that. I mean,
yeah.
did you were you able to speak to someone? Was your mother aware of this? You
M-
just
m-
internalized it.
My my father and I never spoke of this again. It never came up again. Um, my mother was not aware that this instance happened. And as I got older, say 12, 13, my mother, who was this smart, beautiful, lovely, wonderful woman, who, as a young boy, was in some ways almost like my best friend. I think in a lot of ways she was sort of like my hope.
Yeah.
Um, um, when I got to be about 12 or 13 years old, my mother went from the person I've just described to falling off a cliff, in terms of not literally a cliff, but in terms of whatever it was in her background, whatever it is that made it come about. My mother really hardcore fell into the depths of alcoholism. And I think it was her coping mechanism, and I think maybe her father had been an alcoholic, and so I'm not that level of training or science to tell you conclusively, but some people think that there's maybe a predisposition there. Um,
Bill, did you ever speak with your mother later in life about that instance?
I never spoke to her about that instance, but my mother and I, throughout my childhood, up until the point where she started unraveling with alcoholism, um, we were each other's support system. And so I I went through uh, I went through quite a bit over the course of my life with my own issues and things that I went through. And without getting into all that right now, we were in many ways each other's support system.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so and so the point of me mentioning that is because at some point, having lived all the different things that I lived, I think she may not say it that way, but I see my mother very much as the gardener that planted seeds in me that were something that helped me bring something forward in my life, knowing that it doesn't have to be this way, that there is love, there is something more.
Well,
Um,
that's beautiful. So you're a little boy, you experience this. It has to impact your adult life, has to creep in.
yeah.
Um, was that immediately apparent to you, or was it something that later in life you're going through life and you're kind of like, oh yeah, that's not normal?
Yeah, I think there was something that it seems pretty obvious that that was not normal, and it was my experience, um, and I think that experiences like that and many other experiences with my father and in times where it wasn't a circumstance of him purple-faced raging or a gun, sometimes we would sit and have conversations that were as loving as it got with him, and the conversations would be about how hard and difficult the world is. Um, I was a boy that was very predisposed to being happy and joyful and expressive, and that didn't land for my father. And because of that, I would have, still as a young boy, circumstances where another boy, for whatever reason, that didn't work for him either. And I, at that age, tended to be bigger than most of the kids, but I would come home beat up. And so there came a day where my father said to me, if you come home beat up again and you haven't at least fought back and haven't bloodied the other kid's nose, I'm going to beat the living shit out of you.
My God.
So you pick what you want.
My God, Bill.
Yeah.
So obviously you lived with this. I mean, I think it's torture, frankly, um, for a child to hear those things and to feel those things from a parent. How did that impact your adult life?
Um, you know, as I let's, sort of fast forward into high school and immediately afterwards, I got very angry and resentful. Um, Dad was still doing the dad thing. Um, Mom, this person that I had loved and admired and been so close to, in many ways, she was gone, and she was spent as much time as possible curled up in a bottle of vodka. And so I never said the words to myself, but I think at some point as I got to a certain point in high school, I started to say, you know, it works for mom and she kind of checks out. And so, I hardcore, I had been the one thing that kept me going was I had been a very good football player in high school, and I got into a very bad motorcycle crash. And the doctors told me, you can no longer play football. I fractured my skull in several places and spent weeks in a hospital. And And as that all came together, I I I think I just checked out on like, what else is there? And I think that it became a way for me to self-medicate, for me to check out on life. And 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 it was like that with me bumping along until I got a DUI. I got a second DUI, and the second DUI involved a really terrible car crash, and I nearly killed a man, and I was put in jail. And I was in jail very briefly, and I was able to get probation and be released from jail. And after being released from jail, I was a good boy for a short period of time and then started drinking again. And in drinking and not caring about life or the world, I just didn't show up to my meetings with my probation officer, and they brought me back to court, and the judge said, "Congratulations, Mr. Nugent, you're going to jail for a year."
Oh my God.
So they put me in jail, and after 5 months in jail, um, they came to me and said, "The jail's too crowded. You're a nonviolent offender. If you can get a job from jail, we will release you on house arrest." So I made phone calls, called in some favors, got a job, and served out the rest of the year on house arrest.
I have so many questions about that. Okay. Okay. Let's firstly, exactly how old were you when this happened? Secondly, please tell me what that experience in jail was like, because it must have been absolutely terrifying.
Sure.
And third, how did you actually get a job from jail? I've never ever heard that before.
Yeah, but it's interesting in the system that we have that I'm not the first or the last person that's faced that. And some people who could be released and being productive in society are held because that's what's required of them. Um, you know, I had worked several different jobs, and I knew a family that owned a small chain of gas stations and car washes. And I called them up and I said, "I will take anything, anything." And so they said, "We have a car wash and we need somebody to run it because the person that's been running it for us is gone." And I, said, "I'm going to be on house arrest. I'm going to be wearing but disguising an ankle bracelet." Um, and, very upfront, very honest. And they said, "How are you going to get to work every day?" And I said, "Well, since I've been put in jail, my car didn't get paid for, and they've repossessed my car. My car is gone." And so they said to me, "We will have somebody pick you up every morning and bring you to work." So they gave me a job and they gave me a ride to work every day. And that's how I got the job. And then the probation officer or the jail or whoever it was, I can't remember, confirmed that. And I was 22, 23, 22, 23. And being in jail was, I had never been to jail before. I'm, I'm white, uh, middle class, Bill Nugent, that lived in a suburban neighborhood. Um, you know, Dad could be awful, but Dad made, we weren't rich, but Dad made sure that we had. Um, and so very rapidly after I was in jail, there was a man in jail. He was a very large black guy, and his name was Troy. And I had been there a few days, and some other guys came and got me and brought me to Troy and said, "You need to have a conversation with the boss. You need to talk to the boss." And I was like, "The boss? I'm in jail." And
Yeah.
so they basically grabbed me and took me, and there was this guy that has, all this space in a cell all to himself. And he walked over to me. He didn't say a word. He grabbed me by my shirt and threw me up against the wall. And he said, "I make the rules. Whatever you have is mine." And it was very clear to me very rapidly. I'm not too tough or too big to say that, like, I was terrified and I just wanted to cry.
Yeah.
But this is not a place where you cry. Because if they thought you were weak, if you cry, you're really a target. And so I did, again, repeating the theme that I mentioned with my father that day with the gun in the garage. I made myself as small and as transparent as I humanly could. The one thing that saved me was many of the guys in jail had difficulty with reading or writing.
Yeah.
And I was able to get paper and pen from the guards, and they would see me writing and writing and writing and writing. And I would get, "Man, what's all this writing?" And it ended up that some of the guys in jail started referring to me, instead of by my name, they started calling me Scribe.
Nice.
And they started having me write letters home to them, to their wives, their girlfriends, their mothers, as if it was them. And that's kind of how I saved myself.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I was not expecting this. I can't. I'm okay. Let me regroup. I don't know how you regrouped. So you get out. You're this family that you knew obviously saw something in you and said, "Let's give Bill a chance here." They get you to work every day. You've come out the other end after these DUIs. Then what?
So I am now out. I'm on house arrest. I'm regularly having to report. Because I'm wearing an ankle bracelet, they know when I'm home. They know the hours I'm supposed to be at work. I also have court ordered to this thing that I'm heard about but very unfamiliar with, called Alcoholics Anonymous, that I'm court ordered to go to because this is my second DUI. And so I have to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. And then there's a program where I live that's an acronym. I can't even remember what it stands for, but it's called CARP. And it's sort of a therapy program for people that maybe are alcoholics.
Yeah.
And I have to pay money to go to CARP. And Alcoholics Anonymous is free. Anybody can go to Alcoholics Anonymous. So I am court mandated to go to these, so I have permission to go. In many ways, Alcoholics Anonymous is what began my spiritual journey.
Mm.
I didn't even realize it. At this point in my life, my parents had pulled me out of public school because I was on a school bus one day, and some kid who I never met, I never talked to, I think maybe he had some issues, which I don't exactly know what they are. he thought it would be really cool to stab me in the throat.
Wait, what? Wait, wait. I'm assuming, so this was earlier.
This is earlier, but it all ties together.
Okay.
So he took a number 2 pencil and jammed a number 2 pencil in the side of my throat. No idea to this day why. We never spoke a word to each other before or since. My parents went to the school and lost their mind to the principal and pulled me out of public school and put me into, we were not a religious family. I was born Episcopalian. We would occasionally go to church on Easter or maybe Christmas Mass, and that's really about it. Mom and dad, the only public school, or excuse me, private school in the area that they could afford was a Southern Baptist evangelical Christian school. And this was a whole new culture and world that I had never been exposed to. Very fire and brimstone and just hardcore fundamentalist Christian. Every day when we came to school, they would put a pencil over our ears, and if your hair wasn't cut short enough, they would have your parents come pick you up and take you home.
Python.
The girls had to kneel down before they walked in the first classroom in the morning, and if their dress didn't touch the ground, their parents had to pick them up and take them home. And so this was my exposure to God and Jesus.
Pretty intense.
And so I had a really funky,
Yeah.
phony, weird, resentful relationship with concepts of God and Jesus.
Right. So then when you walk into a 12-step program and they say, submit
Right.
to a higher power.
It's a higher power. It's a whole paradigm shift. It's a whole shift in perception
Yeah.
about what this is. We're dealing with a higher power here that is not here looking down upon me because, I'm effectively the sinner that's there seeking healing at this point in my journey. And so I don't become religious. I don't become overtly or obviously spiritual. I'm just trying to stay sober and finish the program and not go back to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just treading water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I do this and I stay going to AA, long after the court systems have said, okay, Bill Nugent, you've paid your debt to society. You're good. Probation's done. You've served your sentence. You no longer have to go to AA. I very much am successfully in my sobriety. And so I stay in that. And the next phase of the journey for me is I go back to school and I go to just trying to find a way in the world. I go to a broadcasting school and I go there and the school is terrible. It's bad. But what I get from it is I get connections and relationships with people in broadcasting. And I found my way into a job as a first an intern, and then I get a gig as a producer of a small little show.
That's cool.
And then a year or so in, I land a gig with a quite prominent talk show, to be the producer of the show. And I produced the show for the next 10 years. And and we win awards and I become very successful with that. Um, and, um, and so that's that's the next phase of my life. While I'm doing this, I come across a text that's
Okay.
called A Course in Miracles.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a
Can you
really interesting.
explain to anybody that's listening exactly what it is?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. A Course in Miracles is a book that was the text of the book and the lessons in the book, which is a thought system. It's literally a course, was channeled by Helen Schuckman and scribed by William Thetford. Who are these people? They were very high-level psychologists and academics at Columbia University. She had been raised Jewish, was more an atheist than anything else, and was very concerned about hearing this voice telling her, "This is a Course in Miracles. Write this down." I'm paraphrasing. "This is a Course in Miracles. Write this down." And she's like, "What?" And so she goes to her colleague, William Thetford, and said, "I'm a little worried.
Right.
What do you think?"
Yeah.
And so they talk about it, and he says, "We need to start writing this down." And so they spent years writing the book, the course that's A Course in Miracles. And the book is a non-dual exploration of basically our mind. It's written in a Judeo-Christian vernacular, and the voice that is channeling to Helen is the voice of Jesus. This book touches on every aspect of your life. It will frustrate you. There have been times where I have thrown the book across the room. There have been other times where I've wanted to burn it. And there have been other times where I've been so profoundly grateful for the book that it's beyond words. There's 365 lessons in the book. There is a very dense text that you might think of as the theory behind all the lessons. And it's a very profound text.
Yeah. I will
I'm
say
not
for
sure where
anybody
else you want to go with that, Chris.
yeah, I was gonna say for anybody else who's watching or listening, when I first met Bill, I showed him this, which is A Course in Miracles made easy for dumb guys like me. So if you're if you're hearing Bill discuss how dense the text can be, yes, it can. Yeah, that's the real one, and this is my Course in Miracles
Yeah.
light.
I'll just to give you a sense of this, it's short. I don't know, Chris, you and I haven't discussed it. I'm not sure how much, if at all, you've read the actual course, but
I've not. I ordered it the last time we spoke, and I haven't
yeah,
gotten it yet. But I did order it.
I'll read you the introduction. It's
Yeah, please.
very short.
Yeah, go.
So here goes. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
I don't know why, but that makes me emotional.
Yeah.
Like it really,
You're not the first. Yeah.
yeah.
You're not the first. It's the course. These are my words, not the course. So this is just from my experience. Um, there's nothing that you and anybody listening to this does not already intuitively know that's in this. Nothing. And you will read it and you won't understand some of it and it will frustrate you. And some of it you'll read and say, oh my God, I've never heard it quite that way. And you will have an emotional reaction. This book, the lessons are not in so many ways about adding more, because there is, in fact, no level of knowledge that will set us free. We've all read the books, many of us. We've read the books, we've meditated, we've prayed, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. Meditate, study, do the lessons. Absolutely. But those things, those actions, those doingness in and of themselves are meaningless. It's in the remembering, or if you prefer, the revealing of what's always been true, that A Course in Miracles and other texts like it, A Course in Miracles, even by the cover of the book, I'll note that on the cover of the book, the title of the book is A Course in Miracles and not The Course in Miracles. It points out that this is one of many, many ways, and whatever path you take to get there is the right path for you. This
That's
is what
beautiful.
has worked for me. It is not a dogma. There is no hierarchy. It's a thought system that you can put on like a suit of clothes, and if you like it, take it, and if you don't, lay it down and move on to the next. And that's the nature of A Course in Miracles.
So beautifully put, Bill. If people are listening to this, how do they know when they're ready to unlearn?
Um, if they've ever had a thought or a feeling, you're ready to unlearn. And so this is a very experiential journey, Chris. And so by that, I will point back to myself, and we can, if you choose, we can reflect on any of the experiences that we've talked about from my life. I only talk about my life because I feel like in some ways, maybe other people can see themselves, even
Sure.
if it's not exactly the same thing. You know, the path that we're all on is like DNA. It's 99 point whatever it is, the same. Um, but there is, even with that level of closeness and proximity to being identical, you know, you look the way you do and I look the way I do. And so there's distinct differences, but there's unavoidable similarities.
Yeah.
And and so what I would just point towards is that in the experiences of my life, I have over and over and over felt things that I may have called anger or doubt or being afraid or anything else you can come up with that's not love, that is fear or a derivative of fear, where I have tried to push the feeling down, avoid the feeling, medicate the feeling, you name it, I've tried it. The same is true for many other people. I'm not the only one. And that is very much the identity that I have constructed for myself by way of all that I have learned. Bill, the good boy that was maybe good enough for his father, Bill, the the man that was professional enough to be the talk show producer, Bill, the man that was able to become the real estate investor, developer, and on and on and on. Those are all inventions and reinventions of my idea of myself, my persona, my ego, that gets in the way, that stands between truth and the separation that I'm trying to make real. I am in so many ways, as A Course in Miracles so beautifully points out, and also the other book that we've discussed, The Way of Mastery, which we can talk about later if you want. Very similar books. That we effectively assist our ego, our desire for persona, in putting a veil, a wall between my truth, my true self, my inner wisdom, and my idea of myself.
Mm.
It's my true self, my inner wisdom, that intuitively knows everything that this book is pointing back out to all of us. It's and it's in the unlearning, by way of experiencing and not pushing aside the feelings. So we experience the thoughts and feel the thoughts, but begin to strengthen the spiritual musculature in ways that we don't identify with them. So I experience it, and then in that, I'm able to shift my perspective from this or the world or this circumstance or whatever it might be is happening to me, to everything is happening for me.
Right.
I may not like it, I may not enjoy it, but it's for me. And somewhere in this fear, this I don't like, there's a gift wrapped that's here to show me my way home
I
in
love
this
that.
moment.
Yeah, it's so, yeah, beautifully put. I do remember that you had written that peace isn't found by becoming better, but by seeing through what isn't true. And you talked about walking home without moving. What does that mean for you? And maybe how can people that are watching this or listening to this practice that as
Mm,
well?
yeah. So I would offer to people that nothing that's real about us ever breaks. Only what was never real is experienced as broken. And it's the pain, the fear that I make real is in my gripping, my holding on to. The Buddhists might say my attachment to, my idea of this. So let's say there's a person, a friend, a lover in my life that all of a sudden decides, Bill's not for me anymore, I'm gone. Or maybe they die. Feel the feeling. See what's in the feeling for you to show you. Breathe into that feeling. It's here for you. Your thoughts about that are also here for you. But what we do is we are meaning making machines,
Mm.
and we attach the meaning that we make, that our identities make for the purposes of survival. We attach to, this person is no longer in my life. They left me, they died.
Right.
So this is now my new reality. And the pain is real because I'm in this state of lack around this meaning that I have created. So much of what we experience, so much of the pain and the fear that we experience is entirely built on the platform, on the foundation of our very profound belief that we have made in the concept of lack.
So interesting. You're bending my brain, Bill, and I love it. It feels good. It's like it's literally like you're stretching me. It's like those stretch lab places. You just lie there and somebody stretches you. I feel like you're stretching my brain, which is
So,
a
so,
gift.
so
Keep
what we
going.
have that A Course in Miracles talks about, if I may,
Yeah.
if you want to take me somewhere else, stop
No,
me.
let's go here. Yeah.
The Course in Miracles points towards what's called the special relationship. And what the special relationship is I've made meaning about you, Chris, and you mean this to me. You are this amazing guy that I need in my life. So inherent in that is that I lack what I perceive, what I interpret that you can deliver to my life. In truth, it's not that I, if I may, give a shit about you,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because there is an underbelly to the special relationship that is a very insidious, dark underbelly that I am here to get because I believe that I lack. And from you or my wife, Allison, or the guy in the grocery store, or any person, place, or thing or circumstance that you can dream up, when we find ourselves in the mode of being with, as I offered earlier, being with my thoughts and my feelings, allowing myself to experience but not to identify, in being with that thought or feeling, I may be shown that I'm only in this moment here to get fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank.
Mm,
And in that moment, I may experience the miracle that is A Course in Miracles. And the miracle is not walking on water. It's not changing water into wine. The miracle is a shift in perspective from fear, lack, to love. And the opposite of the special relationship is that the only thing that I am here to do with you, Chris, is to give.
mm,
And anything that you give to me comes my way.
mm.
And I'm here to give. Now, there's practical real world application of this. So let's talk about that, because A Course in Miracles does its best and actually does quite a good job at being something that you can apply in practical ways,
Yeah.
as does my philosophy of unlearning, which is to a large extent built on A Course in Miracles, the Way of Mastery, non-dual thinking, some Buddhism, Jungian psychology, the
The approach that you're taking is our purpose is really to just give.
yeah. And I remember, my apologies. I was getting ready to talk about applying it in practical ways to your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as we begin to step into unlearning the lessons of A Course in Miracles, it is possible to begin to strengthen our ability to discern moments. It moves in our, what I like to refer to, and in my time with Marianne Williamson, there's my dog. I don't know if you can hear her. Marianne used to talk a lot about spiritual musculature. And I like this term. And so we may strengthen our spiritual musculature and discern from moment to moment that this is what I'm feeling versus this is my true highest self, my inner wisdom, and make practical choices between the two. So, in the description that I gave about the special relationship, and I talked about always coming to give, I get that in the real world, that if you're going to buy a car or some version of like that, you're going to, I don't know, go buy something in a store or have a negotiation or argue out something about your favorite sports team with your friend, that if that's your place you're in and that's your dynamic that you're living from, I can see where it would be really easy for you to allow yourself to become a doormat.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is about stepping into love in each moment. And it's not the action that makes it true, it's the knowingness. So I may argue back with you about my baseball team versus your baseball team, or I don't want to pay that much for the Toyota that you're selling from my point of view, but not doing it from a place of, I'm here to get from you. It's that I love myself and I care for myself enough that honestly and fairly, I will deal with you from that perspective. But it's not with the thought that because I get the price from you on the car, that somehow is connected to my happiness, my fulfillment,
Right.
my safety.
Right.
You
And
see
when
it?
people are too attached to their own ego and the sort of materialistic world, that uh a sort of, the game is I'm getting something. It's not it's interesting. And it does seem, Bill, that that's like a very, like I'm pondering that. And you mentioned that it's a muscle, right? And you have to work on that muscle. Is there like a practical, tactical manner with which you're interacting with people that you're kind of able to remind yourself? I think when we first talked, we talked about the noisy lobby and the inner room. Are you sort of proactively getting to the inner room when you're in the noisy lobby, and how do you get yourself there? Like what are the ways that people could do that
Yeah.
while
Yeah.
they're going through life?
So when I work with people, very often at their discretion, I have them start the lessons. So I would say, do what I did and start the lessons. You will read some of the lessons, and if this is completely new to you, you will say, "What the what?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Course in Miracles says you don't have to believe a word that this book says. That eventually it will meet you where you're at. It will always meet you where you're at, but in terms of an understanding, you will be met where you're at.
Mm.
So my offering would be start the lessons. Things will start to become clear to you and will start coming to you in ways where you don't automatically or initially understand exactly where that thought came from. Um, and the biggest thing that I can offer to people to initially start is to find quiet, to find stillness, to be with yourself. You might think of that as meditation. I'd like to talk about meditation for a moment
Yeah,
in
please.
terms
Yeah.
of this practice. Um, a great many people that I've worked with will say something along the lines of, I try to meditate. I I try and I can't quiet my head down. And so what I would offer to you from my experience is you're not there to quiet your head down. You're not there to 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 get peace, because inherent in what you're saying to yourself before your butt even hits the pillow or the chair in meditating is that I lack quiet, and so I must get quiet. And then you have a special relationship with meditation, that I'm here to get something from the meditation.
I've never heard that before. That's cool. So then how do we
So this, I'm going to say this, but I've already said it while we were together,
Yeah.
since we've been here together today. And that's you meditating is you are there to be with yourself. And by self, I don't mean lowercase self, the lower self, identity, persona, ego. That's going to be there. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's just, in most all cases, that's going to be there. That's okay. You're not there to fight it. You're not there to kill it off. You're not there to make it go away. You're there to experience what it has for you in a different way.
Mm.
You're there to experience the miracle. You don't even have to call it miracle. I don't care what you call it. It's a shift in perspective.
Yeah.
So the process that I'm in, the way that I meditate is it's like I'm a juggler and I'm juggling balls, and the
Yeah.
balls are thoughts and feelings. And I'm going to juggle because I juggle. This is my identity. And my identity is dealing with, I like that. I don't like this. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to push this down because I want less of that. I'm going to go watch a comedy so that I chill out and I don't feel whatever it is. So my space in meditation is to not be grippy and to have myself dwell on it and be swamped with it, but more from the perspective of the way I'll describe it is, oh, look at that. That really makes me feel like shit. And what about it am I being shown? One night, this is a you might find this story interesting. One night, I was laying in bed with my wife, Allison, and we were watching Jeopardy. And somebody said something about a clue, and she corrected me. And Allison's very smart. And so very often when she corrects me, she's right. I'm the first one to say it. And she was, as I said, she was correct. But what I noticed is that I was pissed off.
Yeah.
I was pissed off that she corrected me. It wasn't even about whether she was right or whether she was wrong. And my immediate go-to was, well, we're lying here in bed next to each other. We're watching Jeopardy. And so I sat with that for about 4 or 5 more Jeopardy questions. And I said to her, would you mind pausing the TV? And she said, sure. And I told her what I just told you. I said, this is not about you. You didn't do anything wrong. This is what I'm experiencing. And I'm upset. I have anxiety. It's not like I was like out of my mind,
Yeah, no, but I
but
get exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
but it's but A Course in Miracles points out that it doesn't distinguish the difference between mild annoyance and murderous rage. That from the idea of your mind being healed and you having the level of awareness, the higher self, that at that level, there's no difference between mild annoyance and murderous rage. And I was experiencing mild annoyance. And I said to her, I don't understand what this is, but I know there's something here that's for me.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk to you about it. And so she talked to me about it, and she didn't say much more than, then I hear you. I get it. And just in me expressing it and me taking the meaning and the power that I had attached to it away from it, it opened up a space, and I felt like I was expanding to infinity
Sure.
in that moment. So this is an example of strengthening the spiritual musculature.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And what begins to happen is in the early days of me studying A Course in Miracles, which has been many, many years now, I would have to say, oh, I'm feeling this, I'm supposed to do that. And that's the way it was for a long time.
Right.
And a variety of things and different realizations and deepening has occurred for me over time and circumstances, and coming back to it and being with it and allowing myself, most of all, being curious, being self-curious,
Yeah.
and not judging my feelings, not judging my thoughts.
Yeah, I
That
feel like leaning into it and removing your wife from the situation, saying, "This is on me. This is what I'm experiencing," and then you go through it, kind
you
of.
you just said it. Do not forget this. The only way out is through. The only way out is through. And
Yeah,
so we get to, whether it's the mild annoyance, the murderous rage, or the fire that's in between, we get to walk through it knowing that we're safe, we're accepted, and we're loved. It was never not true. It was never not true. And it will never be not true
yeah,
that I and you, Chris, and every single person that's drawing a breath that's watching this is safe, accepted, and loved. We are so much more than this body, and we make ourselves small just as the way I did as a boy in saying, I am this body. I am Bill. I laugh at myself. And I often will refer to myself when I'm in this thought process of as Billness. I am Billness. You might be Christness.
yeah.
Um, and and it's in knowing that and walking through it that we begin to step into freedom on the other side. You know, there came a time for me in my life where all these identities that I've built as the boy and the talk show producer and the businessman, and I had a 25-year relationship that disappeared in a 10-second conversation, completely out of the blue. That there came a point in my life where the reinventing and the reinventing and the reinventing and the becoming the new and improved and better and reinvented version of Bill, alongside of, not because of the study, but because of the awarenesses that I stepped into around the study, that all of it at one point collapsed
Mm,
under the weight. It became like a building that has become so built up and big, and over time become decrepit and just collapses
yeah.
under its own weight. And I had what the mystics refer to as a dark night of the soul experience. And this was something I can talk about if you want to talk about.
Please, 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 please. Yeah, it's why I'm doing this, so I could hear this. Yeah.
So I I've walked you through so much of the background of my life. I briefly touched on the end of a 25-year relationship, and then we fast forward even more. And I was in this place where I was very deeply in my spiritual study. I was single, I was by myself, and I decided, I think maybe I don't want to live the rest of my life by myself. And
Mm,
so I started looking to date. And I met this really wonderful woman, Allison. Spoiler alert, I'm married to her
Said,
now.
wait a minute.
Yeah.
I've heard that name today.
Allison is a brilliant clinical psychologist, and she's an amazing gift. We have what I will refer to as a sacred relationship, and we can talk more about that later. But when I was with Allison over the first few years that we dated, I began to experience something that I had never experienced before, and that was that I was feeling a deep unconditional love, and she was I think she was feeling very similar. But she was giving to me a very deep unconditional love, and I did not know what the fuck to do with it. And it completely terrified me. And my experience in my life leading up to Allison had been that every person that I deeply open myself up to and rely upon and is somebody that I love has betrayed me or abandoned me. And so I never said the words to myself, but there was something that I thought that I had been gotten past, because at a certain level, I had egoically spiritualized things that I thought that I was now beyond, because I was a awesome Course in Miracles student, and because I had been through all these different things. And
Spiritually
so
ego. Say it again.
my
Spiritually.
ego spiritualized my spirituality.
Yeah, it's so crazy,
Yeah.
man. Is
So
that so?
yeah, it's basically the special relationship
Yeah,
that I described to you that's getting.
yeah,
So the ego, which is not me
yeah,
at the highest level, it's a persona, it's an identity, it's a survival identity.
yeah,
The ego very much wants to survive and maintain its relevance.
yeah.
And so when Bill starts getting spiritual, the ego starts saying, oh shit, I may not be needed around here much longer.
Yeah,
So the ego starts taking things in your life and saying, see how much better you are than these people? And there can be like some subtle condescension, like, you know better than they do. And it can also sweep things under the rug. I got this, you know? And there's a getting, and the getting is the ego's survival, the ego's relevance.
I love that quote. The getting is the ego's survival and
Yeah.
relevance.
Now, some people will talk about killing off the ego, and I want to say that you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Because in attempting to kill off the ego, you're making the ego real. You're making nothing a thing. And the ego is not a thing, it's just an experience. You with me?
I dig it.
Yeah. So so um so I did this with Allison, where I left Allison 3 times. Yep. And the she never did anything. The last time that I left her, I was a disembodied Bill in terms of my experience. And I literally knew this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
But I was so overwhelmed and swamped with fear that without any intention but survival mode, I pushed my true self over here, disconnected myself. And she literally said to me, she's like, I don't, like I'm paraphrasing, but basically it was like, I don't know where are you? And
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't, like this is just not going to work. And, like you're awesome. You didn't do anything wrong. And I'm really sorry. And I've made my mind up and this is just for the best. And I've just decided I want to be single. And that was it. And it tore her apart. And, um, and it was maybe week or two after that, I began having this experience where my idea of myself began to collapse. And it was an experience. It lasted. I can't be sure because a lot of this was, I don't know how else to describe it, but it was like being burned to the ground to ashes and being born all at the same time while having a psychedelic experience. I don't know. That doesn't do it justice, but
And was this in one literal moment or over the course of time? Is this like an afternoon? Like describe this.
this occurred over neighborhood of 2 weeks of almost nonstop.
And what were you experiencing?
I was in an otherworldly experience. I was completely in my house. I have no recollection if I ate. I have no recollection if I went to the bathroom. I have strange and bizarre visions that I saw that were so profoundly revealing and confirmed how much I had made up about myself and I'm not going to say Dark Night of the Soul is unlearning, but this was unlearning. It was stripping me down to the studs. Um, and at the same time, I had the comfort of a presence, which I can't say for sure was me or God, but I can tell you that Allison, I can't, I waited a week or two after I experienced this, because I spent a week or two feeling just euphoria beyond my words. And I wanted to be sure that this was something that was real and true. I believed it was, but I went back to Allison and I said, I have no idea how you feel about me. I completely understand if you hate me, you never want to talk to me, if I've broken it too bad, but can we talk? And she she's a clinical psychologist, and she said, "I don't know what happened to you, but you're not the same man." Like,
Yeah.
and yay, because this is like the man that I saw in you.
Right.
Um, Chris, I realize that what this sounds like for a lot of people to hear somebody talk about. Um, and but man, I was shown so much,
Yeah. No,
and
I believe it. I wholeheartedly. Yeah.
yeah, and one of the things that I was shown was like, this is awesome, but just as it says in these pages, this or this book or any internet course or anything you can think of, ayahuasca trip, like go do it. Yay. Experience it, enjoy it. It's all for you. It's neither good nor bad. It only has the meaning we attach to it. Um, but I do think that there was a confluence, if you will, of many years of study and walking away from the study and finding myself in circumstances where I would say, this spirituality crap just doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, it's a nice idea.
Yeah.
And in that there was even something that was it was there for me to show me. And
And how long has it been since that break?
it's been a little bit over 2 years.
And has it stuck like in
Yes.
your yeah.
Yes.
And
Now I want to be careful. And before I say that, I'll say this. I want to be clear that I am not what people might think of or describe as an enlightened master. Like, enlightened master, if somebody is talking in those realms, we need to be talking about like Buddha and Jesus. And there are people, I don't know every one of them. There's no club.
yeah.
I'm no enlightened master. I'm no guru. I know, and I believe that I am an awakened person.
Yeah.
That I have been awakened to the truth that is always true, the is that always is, and that everything else is window dressing. Now, I will tell you that there are absolutely days where I want to tell people to go fuck themselves. And there are absolutely times where, like I'm a football fan, a hockey fan. I like to go fishing. I, don't spend my days burning incense with my legs crossed, levitating around the house. So like I'm a real person. Um, um, and at the same time, if that's somebody's, their ritualization of their spiritual journey is effective for them, if that's what works, or if it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or good Chinese, like do it. God doesn't care. Source doesn't care. The universe doesn't care. It's all here happening for us, not to us. And it's in that space that I go back to the questions that I learned in A Course in Miracles, and that is, what would love do now? And so if I'm in a circumstance where I know I'm
With love.
feeling some energy,
Yeah.
I'm feeling some discord, something that might be fear or doubt or anxiety, it's all fear.
Yeah.
Um, so my question is, what would love do now? And we can talk more if you like about what love is and what it's not.
Yeah, please.
Um, and everything, everything, period, that we experience is either love or a call for love. That's it.
Ooh, I love that.
Everything that is A Course in Miracles. Everything. Your experiences in the grocery store, what you feel watching something on TV, everything. And that's in the dynamic of each moment is happening. It's my perception, it's my interpretation, it's the meaning I attach to it. Everything is happening to me, I'm the victim,
Yeah.
or it's happening for me, it's a gift.
Yeah. It's a tremendous
And to talk about that in the vernacular of Jesus, which is the voice in A Course in Miracles, I'm not attached to it. Jesus, not Jesus, doesn't matter. Jesus's way of talking about that is the crucifixion. So each moment, each person, each place, each circumstance is either your crucifier or your savior.
Ah,
So you want to carry the cross and you want to walk around with the cross, metaphorically, or do you want to see this same exact moment as the cross I'm being nailed to? It's my crucifixion. Or the same exact moment, the same exact circumstances, this moment, these things I don't like, these things that upset me, have within them, through my perception, my shift in perception, i.e., the miracle, the ability to be my salvation, my savior. When Jesus was on the cross and he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," what Jesus meant was, God, they think that they're hurting me. They think that they're killing me because of their fear. They are afraid of the radical change that the example, the demonstration of my life in the world, they're afraid of that. Forgive them. They know not what they do. They don't understand that this body is not me, that I can't be touched. And in the Course in Miracles, Jesus very clearly says, I have nothing that you do not have. I am not due reverence like the Creator. I am at best due the respect of an older brother.
mm, mm,
And that's the nature of this journey. And if somebody doesn't like the conversation, because I used to have a lot of energy on Jesus.
mm.
Jesus was not my friend.
Yeah.
And it's not about, because there is no Mr. Christ.
Yeah.
There is no Mr. Jesus Christ. The Christ is us, all of us. The
Yeah.
Christ is
Source.
the one, which is in truth who we are, is the one that is the thought in God's mind. We, as the one, the Christ, are a thought in God's mind that can never leave. That's the nature of our divine inheritance. That is why truth is always true. The is always is. That's the nature of it, my brother.
So beautiful, Bill. Man. Man. How are you, tell everybody now how you're sharing this in practical terms, your writing, where can they learn more from you? Where can they, be a part of your community and follow
Sure.
your continued journey?
Sure. I have a web page. My web page is unlearningmyself.com. And on that web page, you'll be able to go to the web page and find there a book, which I believe you have the link that will lead people to. I haven't released, but in the next couple of days, I'm releasing a free ebook, which your listeners, your viewers will be the first to hear about. And so you may go there, like everybody else, give me your email. It's
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah.
I promise I won't make you crazy. Um, um, you may also find me. I have a Substack called The Unlearning. So it's theunlearning.substack.com. I'm also on Medium, where it's Bill Nugent, BILLNEWGENT .medium.com. You can email me at bill@unlearningmyself.com if you want to get in touch and discuss anything. Um, I do I do not push for it and don't do a lot of advertising, but I do work with individuals and small groups. And so if you feel like this is something that you want to explore, I offer people a discovery call. Usually it's about
That's cool.
45 minutes or however long we need. And you may go to my website and connect with me there and book a discovery call. In a couple of months, I can't give you an exact date. I have a book that's getting ready to be published. We've talked about some of the things in the book, some of the stories about my father, some of the things about Allison,
Yeah.
all the stuff in between. And I talk in very tangible ways. I try to use the stories from my life, not just for an opportunity for Bill to talk about himself, but hopefully you may see yourself in the story. And I point people in the direction of the path of unlearning. The title of that book is Unlearning Myself, A Journey Back to Inner Peace and Wisdom. And if you get the free ebook, I'll put you on my email list. And when that book publishes, I'll send something out to you with a discount to be able to get the initial. I don't know what the discount is yet because I've got to work with the publisher on that. But my 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 mission, my goal in life is to serve. Um, I am here for you, and I try and use my life in every way I know how to be a demonstration of what this work is. And if I may be of service to you, I'm here.
I I don't know that I've had a guest or a conversation where I felt like I'm on the verge of being emotional the entire time. And I just want to tell you, this meant a lot, and I
Mm,
learned a lot, and
mm.
I personally needed to hear a lot of what you talked about today. And I'm sure anybody that's listening or watching was able to get a lot from it. And thank you for breaking the cycle that it probably could have gone a very different way by the way you were raised and by the way your father treated you. I think you had a choice. You know, you could have,
We all do.
yeah. And you're
Yeah.
doing God's work, literally,
Yeah.
right?
I,
And
I will say to you to dovetail on what you just said, Chris, and I think perhaps we might have said this to each other in a previous conversation. You talked about learning in this conversation. We are all of us, always both student and teacher. And so this is the nature of each moment being for us. And so in being with you, I come away from with something also in just being able to join with you in this.
yeah, thank you so much for everything. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it. And
it's my honor.
this was awesome.
Yeah.
You're the man. This is great.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just- wow.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to staying in touch with you. I will work on posting the podcast as soon as possible because I think this is really important
Yeah.
stuff that you're talking about. And I can't wait to read your book. And just thank you for being you, man. This is,
Yeah. Thank you.
you're doing important work.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, not that there's any rush, but you think 2, 3 days or something like that?
I'll probably try and get it together and published before the start of next week. Yeah.
Okay, that'll be great because my web person is, I think, as you got from the email that I sent you, they're just making all the links live and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff and getting the ebook in there and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Cool.
no rush.
No, I mean, look, when I'm this excited about a podcast, I want everybody to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
see it and hear it. So
Well, Chris, look, if there's anything I can ever do in any way, shape, or form to be of service to you or your viewers,
I appreciate it, man. It's
yeah.
same to you, right? Let's keep in touch.
Okay, my friend, be well.
You too.